Welcome back to Screen Preach for episode 22, week 23, technically, since we started this little show of ours. And we're off and running with the 22nd fucking Catalina wine mixer over here. I got it. I got it. Don't worry. I got it. I wanna know, have you ever done cocaine? I just want to start the episode like this, just random shit for right now, you know? Just, hey, so what's going on anyway, you know? Yeah, I can't believe that the movie theaters are just, this is just, it's terrible. It really is. It's terrible. This shit just keeps going. It just keeps... Benji's gonna have to slum it soon. How can they... how can they stop giving us $600 a week and not open everything? Okay, government, we'll just go fuck ourselves. No, I mean, seriously, though, I'm gonna have to either work, I'm just probably gonna just do the Uber thing, but if that doesn't work, I have to fucking go and do some shit, literally slum. I told myself I'd never work in a grocery store again. I did back in high school. That I might have to, these are not normal times, so, you know. Yeah, we'll see what happens. What up, B-Rye? What's the haps? Stewie, you look gross. You look like Lou Ferrigno's poop. I watched an episode of Family Guy this week. Haven't watched in a while. It doesn't matter how bad it is. It's bad now. It's not good anymore. But it's still funny. It's still Family Guy. It's just a random season 17 episode that I watched. I heard something recently that they're doing I think they're doing a whole themed thing for the next season Family Guy. I forget what it was now. They're doing an adaptation version of something. Shit, I forgot. Damn it, I should have fucking sent that news to myself so we could talk about it. Why didn't I? And there's no news this week, by the way. There's gonna be weeks like this because there's no movie theaters. There's no movement. So there's nothing to talk about. There's not really any news. I'll get to that. Fuck, man. Donut. I don't know what her deal is today. She's all weird. She started eating her breakfast. She heard me pull the shower curtain and she ran over onto the bed and curled up like I was gonna give her a bath or something. I haven't given you a bath once in this bathroom, in this shower. We go to Petco for her baths. So I don't know what me moving the curtain has anything to do with you. And now she won't eat either. She does this shit. She does weird shit like this where she's just being picky. She gets chicken in her dish and that's the only way she'll eat the dry food is if I give her a little bit of chicken in the dish. Sometimes she doesn't even want she eats the chicken and then that's it. She just walks away from the dry food, and that's where we're at today. Picky, spoiled little girl over here today. just snoozing away, living the life, right? You're living the life, and I'm struggling. For you, it's paradise. For me, I'm struggling. All the freaking money that I got from the Corona relief, I ended up spending on bills, man, and more bills and more bills. So I'm actually right where I started when this whole thing, like literally right back to being at the same number in my savings that I was at. It's gonna keep dwindling again now. Now that they took it away, that's where we're at. There, like I said, I'm gonna have to. I'm definitely gonna do the Uber. If I can't make enough of money doing that, then I'll consider something else. But there's no reason to fucking jump to conclusions here. I'm not gonna go work in a grocery store again. We can do this Uber as many hours I need to do to get some life, some sense of life maintained. I just gotta maintain. We just out here trying to maintain. Remember that song? It's the Belly and Nav, right? That one was good. I forgot about that one. Right? Maintain. Yeah, that one's good. Yeah. Still watching. So what am I watching? So I watched some more comedies. Like I said, I would. Just some oldies that I like that I just haven't seen in a while that I just felt like watching again. Just funny. It's really funny stuff. It always cracks me up when you look at the reviews for comedies, and I'll get into this when we do our special episode, because comedy's really what the special episode's about. I'm going to focus on Jim Carrey, but it's going to be about comedy and cinema and how difficult it is to write comedy in cinema and why it's different from other forms of comedy, but. It's funny, the reviews. They're like really bad reviews on all the comedies, but they're great comedies, man. Who is reviewing a comedy and looking for what makes this a cinematic achievement? What makes this some beautiful piece of art? Just fucking chill out. Like, it's a comedy. It's supposed to be goofy and silly and stupid sometimes, and that's why it's funny. You're not gonna it's not gonna be some fucking masterpiece. It's not The Godfather. It's a fucking dumb, silly goose time comedy. Like, fucking shit. Like, what are you trying to do here? Shit, I fucking quoted Chris D'Elia on the show. No, we can't do that. Let's not. That's a change situation there. He goes from being one of my favorite comedians to being a sleaze all of a sudden. And of course, we don't have the whole story. We never get the whole story. But one way or the other, there's some kind of shit that shouldn't have happened that happened. Yeah. But whatever. Yellowstone's great. Still going. They need to kick it into high gear though. Now that they're halfway through the season, let's turning point this shit. Where's the real high stakes conflict come in? They're not really pushing the envelope this season, like they were the first two seasons, and I get that. In terms of writing, you have these two seasons that are really like intense, and there's a lot of shit going on. Having a down moment for the characters, it makes sense. Narratively it makes sense. But it's going to get, there's always something always happens, and all of a sudden your characters are dealing with shit, and it gets fucking crazy. It gets real. That's really it for what I'm watching. I don't want to start up TV yet again. I'm just watching some movies right now, chilling. I kind of just want to read and write and play video games more right now. So it's just like a movie a night, really, is what I'm doing. That's it. I'll start up some TV shows soon, I guess. I don't know what to binge yet. I have to think about what I want to binge. What I really want to do is fucking go back to work and be able to go to the beach and lay out and fucking, go to bars and fucking drink and all that shit. And that's coming from me. I'm a fucking introvert. I don't like to do that shit normally, but I want to fucking go out. Man, I really do. And I do the best I can, you know? Just go and take fucking pointless walks all the time and fucking go to the park every day and lay out and just kind of, it's just chillage, you know? It's just chillage. Hey, I could chill for months and months and months, but then I'll have no money left. And then it's like, all right, time to fucking do something else so I can make money. I don't know, man. Look, if you ask me how it's been going out here, it's not really going. It's not my fault. All right? You should have seen me months ago before this hit. I was ready to go, man. I was ready to go. Everything was moving. Everything was moving at a nice pace. I know it doesn't make sense to even complain about it. Everybody, so many people in the same boat as me, or in worse situations. We're gonna get through this. If we can get through the fucking Spanish influenza and all these other fucking diseases and plagues and whatever, with the very limited medical research and technology that they had, I think we can get through this with the technology and medicine that we do have. Don't you think? 100%. We just gotta be careful and not be one of... You want to try to always, obviously, not be one of the people who gets really extremely sick and possibly die, or have loved ones get extremely sick and possibly die. We have to be careful still. This isn't fucking over. It's fucking surging. You know? It's surging. People are being a little crazy, too. You have to be careful still, you know? Don't just think that it's not going on anymore, because it is. All of a sudden, you could be one of these random 20-year-old kids that's fucking getting sick and dying. It's hitting every age group randomly. Just random people in every age group. That's what this is. That's what makes it so... Hey, it's fucking unpredictable, man. How's this? If this thing's gonna be around during the winter, how's this thing gonna react to the winter? How are we gonna react to this thing in the winter? I mean, I'm in warm weather all the fucking year round now, but that's not the point. Like, it's still a season change, and it's still, you know. Let's get to the news of the week, because there's not really much, and then we'll talk about our movie, and we'll call it a fucking week, you know? Literally, like, a tiny few things to just bring up here that I saw this week. They pushed back the Mandalorian books. Late 2021 now, the Mandalorian books, for anyone who wanted an update on that. I know that I mentioned it earlier, and that's where we're at with they're pushing back releases of movies, books, comics. Everything is getting pushed. Everything. You know that they could... This just could be a full year. 2020 is just a full fluke year. Fugazi. Just a mulligan. Like, fucking just nothing this year. And then 2020. So that means that expect more pushbacks. It sucks to say it, but Black Widow will probably... Well, let's see where we're at when we get to fucking the end of the year and where we're at. But yeah, it could be the whole 2020 just a fluke year. Aside from that, there's a new trailer for Fargo Season 4. For fans of Fargo, check it out. Chris Rock is your guy this season. That's pretty dope. It looks like I think it's a period. They went back and did like a period piece for this season. I think it's a different time. That's what version they went with. It's like crime families and I don't know. Looks interesting. I haven't watched Fargo yet. I saw a couple episodes of the first season and didn't get around to continuing. I will. I know it's good. I will. Courtney Cox will return in the next Scream movie officially. She'll be back as Gale Weathers. That'll be interesting. I haven't seen Courtney Cox in anything since the last Scream movie she was in. So that's her and David Arquette back for that movie. Do we need more Scream movies? Do we really need more Scream movies, man? Whatever. She's back. Pixar has planned their next feature film. It's going to be called Luca, set in Italy, and that's interesting. Pixar's always good. They just throw something at you. You don't expect. Pixar's that like. You don't keep up with Pixar. Like you don't know what's. I don't keep up with Pixar, so I don't know what's going. You know, obviously I know that this is coming out, but like all of a sudden their movie drops. You're like, oh, that looks interesting. I'm not gonna watch it because it's whatever. It's a kids movie. But then you watch it and it's just not just a kid. Like it just touches your heart. No matter what age you are, those movies are always good. Onward was good. Onward really was fucking great. Like I that one was surprised me. They just always do. This one's set in Italy. Be like a fun. That's good. If Ratatouille's any indication, I liked when they were in France and they did the whole France thing. And now that this is a good one. It's interesting. It was a good one. In the movie, they catch up to him half mile down the road and slit his throat. It was a good one. There's not much here. Let's see. The Mandalorian Season 2 will still be rolling out this October. At least we still get some TV, man. At least some things are on track, you know? Apparently the Darksaber will play a key role in the season, according to Giancarlo Esposito. But, you know, I feel like he already told us that in a previous interview. So you're just reiterating something we kind of already know. But yes, of course, dude. Darksaber is the only Mandalorian Jedi lightsaber. And the show is called The Mandalorian. So what do you think? You think it plays a key role? Yes. Oh, dude, there's so much hype for that. Mandalorian got nominated for Best Drama Series. Fucking A right, Johnny. Fucking A right, Johnny. That's great. That's breaking some ground there, huh? Disney Plus, their first live action real attempt at something, gets the recognition it deserves. Got nominated for Outstanding Drama Series. Giancarlo Esposito got nominated for The Mandalorian and Better Call Saul. I think there was something. No, that's it. They snubbed it in other areas. They didn't give Pedro Pascal anything. Like there's, but then again, they snubbed fucking Bob Odenkirk and what's her name who plays Kim Wexler. They got snubbed. Better Call Saul. They got snubbed. That was interesting. Whatever. Let's keep going here. Like I said, not much. Thor: Love and Thunder filming expected to begin in early 2021. That's the kind of news we get on Marvel right now. It's very tiny little things like, oh, filming expected this day. Like there's no news, man. There's no movement. You don't hear shit about Marvel movies right now. You don't hear shit about, I mean, they fucking delayed Star Wars, so you're not going to hear shit about it. Tenet is looking to, so here's what Tenet's going to do. They're going to open internationally first. Looks like other countries will get it first, before us. For some reason, I thought when they said that they're not doing a traditional release, that meant that they're not doing a global release. But what the fuck does internationally released mean? I don't know. We're going to see what the fuck happens with that. And that literally is it. That was the news this week. Like, there's nothing. Anyway. it's a weird time for that too. Like you're forced to stay indoors, right? And what do you really do when you're inside? You do stuff with your tech, right? Computer, TV, video games, whatever, right? That's what you do inside. Um, but then there's shit. There's like not enough new shit coming out all of a sudden as well. So you're like you're bored with shit you've seen. You don't want to rewatch anything. So what do you do instead? I mean, I'm not surprised I fucking collected a bunch of Star Wars books and decided to read a bunch of... I'm doing more reading than I normally do, because what the fuck else is there to do inside when there's not a whole lot of content that you're like, that's bullshit though. I'm just personally not watching as much. Maybe that's it. I could check out that fucking show Dark, everyone. That show Dark on Netflix apparently is like their best show. I don't... What the fuck is this show? I need to... Alright. Let's move on. Let's talk about our movie of the week here. Like I said, I'm going to do older stuff right now, too. I rewatched Hacksaw Ridge. So that's what we're going to talk about in the name of the Godfathers. I don't know what on the Holy Jedi. And that is a... Come on, if you haven't seen it yet, you gotta, because it's Mel Gibson, and it was his first movie in like years. I remember when it came out, it was like a big deal that it was like Mel Gibson for the first time directing something in years and making a comeback because he was kind of ostracized by Hollywood, and then he made this movie, and it's a very, very impactful little... It's a good movie. So let's just talk about it, because there's a lot... It's very thought-provoking, you know? I'm going to let that siren that's coming pass, and then we'll get into it. Please, Lord, help me get one more. Not only is this quote said at the most climactic moments of the film, but it's also true and real, like as in the story is a true story. It's exactly what happened with Desmond Doss in real life, so it also sums up entirely his moral perspective. That line sums it up. What makes him so unique, which makes him a caricature. He's literally like a very unique kind of character in that you would get in stories, and he's a real person too. His faith, his philosophy, it all shines through with that very line that's said at the end. And it's said at a time when he's embracing everything that he is. You know, he's I'll get into it. I know this is a movie from a few years ago, but I just had to talk about it. I remembered that I only saw it once or twice anyway to begin with, so I figured let's do... You know, I like to... Things need to still be kind of fresh in my mind, but also I forgot about, maybe. Kind of a balance between that, and that's what I pick. Those are the old movies that I pick to talk about. If it's something I've seen a shit ton, I'll wait maybe for like, especially, let's be real, the only shit that I've seen a shit ton are comedies, my top 10 favorite dramas, and franchise movies like Marvel and Star Wars. So the only time really to do those movies is when it's a special episode. Marvel will be the big episode 50. And the dramas, I just haven't... Something about the ones that I've seen a million times, and I know I have a shit ton to say about, I, like, don't want to get to yet. I want to, like, almost save them. I don't know what I'm saving them for, but... I'm trying to keep it relatively newer stuff right now. I could talk about the fucking Godfather trilogy all fucking day. But then again, the Godfather trilogy could be a special episode. So you see where I'm balancing it out here? Like Scorsese, I could talk about Goodfellas or go talk about The Departed or whatever. But why not do all of Scorsese's movies in a special episode? So that's what I mean. I'm waiting on those ones to talk about, like, if there's a filmmaker I really love, I'll wait and do a full special on the filmmaker. So let's talk about Hacksaw Ridge. This came out in 2016, I think. It's really been that long already. Wow. Spoilers ahead, but yeah, 2016, if you haven't seen it yet. Immediately, right off the bat, we get an idea of the main theme of this film. The opening sequence. The opening sequence. What is that shit? Why am I doing that? What is a sequence? The opening sequence, which of course is also the end of the movie too. They open with that battle because that is the whole movie. That's what the movie's building to is that battle on Hacksaw Ridge. Hence the title. They open with it, and then we come back to it at the end. The main theme is expressed through just the imagery of the opening scene. It's passivity versus violence, which it inevitably has to be considering who our main character is. And what I mean by the opening expressing this, we show the natural violence of war, right, of this battle, and at the same time, Desmond's voiceover is giving us an idea of his passivity. So it's that, there's your theme, the duality of passivity versus violence, and that's what we get. Desmond, he embodies passivity, it's his moral code, and he's undertaking a challenge that contradicts itself in ways because war is naturally violent, right? How do you take a passive approach to that? So right away, there's an interesting story being told here. Yeah, so that opening, we get shot after shot of violence, Desmond's voiceover. We immediately get a sense of his religiosity, too. So passivity versus violence it sums up the film in the first few minutes. For Desmond, it's simple, right? For Desmond, his perspective is, to him, very simple. It's while others are going to be taking lives, I'm going to be saving them. The challenges he faces because of who he is are not so simple. So it may be a simple idea to him. I just want to save lives and not take them. The pushback he gets from that idea is immensely challenging for his character, for him, what he goes through. As this is a true story, so right off the bat, you have to consider being true to the true story. You want to show Desmond's life. You want to show what made him become the way he is, why he has the perspectives he has, the beliefs he has. So it made sense for this movie to go back and show us the beginning of his life and things that were important. So the inciting action of this film is when he's young. We see it early in the film when he fights with his brother. He nearly kills his brother. We won't learn until later too that that's not actually the circle of being moment. There's actually a circle of being moment that happened with him and his family, more specifically his father. We learn that later, but this is an inciting action because it brings into perspective the idea of violence immediately for Desmond. It starts to shape him. And that isn't, so even though it shapes him that moment, that's not the true first sparking moment where he decides to take on the belief system that he does. Like I said, it's another moment with his father that we learn later. But him almost killing his brother, plus the relationship with his father, those are, they kind of, that's what shaped him. He got this relationship with his father that ends up being a key element of the story, and the way that his father sort of embodies violence, and then how that idea makes Desmond want to be the opposite. In this early scene as a kid, he does take "Thou shalt not kill" to heart, uses it as a guide to be a good person, right? But there's a key incident which sets him on his journey even more, and it's this idea of destiny that he has in medicine, in helping people, in saving people. And that's when he actually saves someone's life for the first time. He saves that kid's life, the boy who got hit by the car. He sees the hospital. It starts to become more clear to him what kind of person, what kind of path he should be on. Basically, what I'm saying is, if it weren't for the war, he probably would have went on to become like a fully fledged doctor at some point. Very possibly. In terms of writing, the writers needed to set up the truth about Desmond as a person. So, it's important. It's important that Desmond is different. You know, he's an obscure kind of almost entity. He's just not normal. He's not the same as us, and that's the point. Um, they set him up to. He's shown to be different than others. He thinks different. He acts different. The fact that he's different than his brother, a simple little frame or two that we get in the beginning too, like it shows his brother and his father working on a car, all greased up, right? And he's all clean cut, going get ready to go on a date. It just shows the parallel. There's an opposites there. You know, he's different from normal. He's different from his brother. He's different from regular people. He thinks different. He's just got a different way about him. It's just, it kind of makes him like an anomaly, if you will. Let's see, where was I here? So a lot of his journey is about him being different and even being better than his father. There's a conflict between them. They have a strained relationship. And for Desmond, in many ways, it's about being different and better than his father. Seeing the way, I think it's more sad than that. It's more personal. It's seeing the way that violence destroyed his father, both mentally and emotionally. That's part of why he has the philosophy that he does. He also comes off as odd or corny too. Desmond, he's strange to us and to other characters. It's these differences that make him a hero in the end. That's what I'm getting at. But even Dorothy, like she's this B plot, this love story that we get, and even she sees that he's different. She calls him corny at one point in the movie. His whole belief system is corny too. It's a corny idea. Think about it. It's this idea of making love, not war. That's literally what it is. It's corny, but it ends up. I mean, he ends up having to prove that it's possible to have this belief system, and it's what makes him a hero in the end. He also doesn't let other people's opinions of him stop him from believing what he does. I think that's most important, is that he believes in himself. He's believed that it's possible. I'd like to think that the true start of the film, so structurally the end of Act 1, our true start, I suppose, no, I wanted to think that it's when he actually goes off to training. He's in boot camp, right? But it's not. It's actually the first moment that his ideals are tested against the rules and regulations of the military for the first time. So that's during the rifle sequence. That is the true start, the end of Act 1. I can't touch a gun, right? That's where the conflict really starts. That's where the movie really starts. Act 1 is really well crafted too. It's a setup that is building to his decision to enlist, right? The pushback he gets from his own men sets up the main conflict, and his goal of needing to prove himself and overcome the biased perspectives of violence, as well as violence itself. There's actual physical violent pushback from other men in the platoon. Plenty of kinds of pushback that are not physical, you know. Every kind of officer trying to get him to quit, you know. This first test, you know, the platoon, the training at the boot camp, this is the first test that he must overcome if he has any chance of overcoming the actual violence of war itself. Everybody wants him gone, wants him to quit, but he keeps powering forward. He doesn't quit. It's just a very real and relatable thing to fight a war for your own beliefs and values, which is something we all kind of do. So before he even fights the actual war, he's fighting a war amongst himself and his peers to uphold his beliefs, which is something we all kind of do. He has to fight a war for his moral code. And the way he fights is not by physically fighting either, whether it's before he's on the battlefield or during the battle. He never fights physically. You know, he fights by preserving through every obstacle what he believes while keeping who he is intact. I think the clearest examples of this are during the battle when he has to be aware and resourceful in trying to survive. So there's moments where his life is literally at, at risk, immensely at risk, and he still doesn't break his moral code. He finds ways to resourcefully make it through those scenarios. Um, it would have been easy for him to pick up a gun and shoot back, but he doesn't. Even when he could possibly be. I mean, there were so many times when he could have died because he just wouldn't pick up a gun, man. So we get that court sequence. That's kind of like the end of. That's like a turning point, I guess. Um, Dorothy supports him even after she doubts him. Yeah, I think that's the reversal of the film. The reversal is he's able to actually be allowed to enlist or allowed to be sent into battle. Um, that the whole court sequence, and that court sequence has a connection to his father too. His father had to step up there, and actually speak up for his son. It was actually a little bit of a turning point for their relationship. It turned out. There's a clear unraveling after he's sent into the actual war itself, which is also why that court sequence is a turning point. He gets sent to war, and all of a sudden now we're in fucking war. So there's clear and obvious wartime confrontation. Hacksaw Ridge itself, getting to that location, is the turning point. Everything in that story comes down. Everything in this story comes down to making it to that ridge and what happens on that ridge. I really liked the way the end is structured, almost like 2 or 3 set pieces with graceful moments in between separating them. Now remember, a set piece has its own beginning, middle, and end. So if Smitty's death is kind of like an inciting action in the set piece, it acts as a sparking point for Desmond. His failure to save Smitty sparks the climactic moment of him staying on that ridge and saving countless other lives. Thus, he also ends up bringing Smitty's body down last, along with himself. It's symbolic because it's also it connects back to a scene with his father when he tells Desmond about how his friends are dead in the ground while he walks that ground. Desmond realizing, I think in that moment, he knows how it feels when Smitty is gone, and he gets to walk the earth after Smitty's just in the ground dead. He wants to prevent more bodies being buried in the ground. That's really what it was, man. More friends, One of the set pieces is an entire sequence where the enemy is coming through trying to finish people off, while reversely, Desmond is up there trying to save lives. It's a sequence that's literally Desmond versus death, and literally the theme itself embodied. Violence versus passivity. The Japanese soldiers embodying violence, Desmond embodying passivity. The stakes build really brilliantly throughout the set piece. Hope seems lost many times, and Desmond overcomes each obstacle, like I said, being very resourceful. His beliefs are put to the test again and again. When it becomes tough and harder and harder for him to not use a weapon. Yeah, overcoming those obstacles. The crisis moment is when he has to really fight to get Sarge out at the end of the battle. Gets off that ridge. I think it's easy to call that the climax, but it's not, because then the climax is really everyone embracing him and accepting him for who he is finally after all that confrontation. Everyone accepts his beliefs, embraces him as a hero. They believe in how much you believe, is a line said, right? They believe in how much you believe. So that climactic fight, they all go back up there. More than that, though, they win the battle. So that's really the climax. They embrace Desmond, and the embracing of Desmond allows them to win. I think in many ways they win because of Desmond. So in terms of direction, don't. It's Mel Gibson. Don't even get me started. You know, visually he gives us a lot of really incredible shots. Um, I sometimes forgot. I forget that it was him that did the movie. Every time I think about the movie, I always forget that it was him. Um, my favorite shots, if I had to be specific, are the final shot after the battle when Desmond is floating in the air on the stretcher. It's almost like an angel sent down from heaven kind of thing. There's a lot of religious and specifically Christian undertones in this story, which is not uncommon for Mel Gibson movies. I'm sure I miss a bunch of things too. That's that happens a lot too. When I take a narrative approach to looking at movies, I forget things visually. It's one of those thought provoking movies that you will pick up on things the more you watch. That's what kind of movie it is. Um, so performances, this might actually be Andrew Garfield's best performance. It arguably is, and if you argue that with somebody, would have to be in the conversation. He steals every scene, every frame. But I also want to point out how great some of the other performances were. So I mentioned Sam Worthington a few weeks back because I mentioned how you don't see him anymore. You never see him because he's filming 500 Avatar sequels, so you never see him. But I forgot that this was one of those movies he was in between the first Avatar and now. Like, he very, very briefly pops up in movies. This was one of those movies that he pops up in. And it's a key role, too. It was nice to see him on screen. You know. Hugo Weaving is probably second to Garfield in terms of performance, playing a PTSD, drunken, broken Great War veteran. He did a fantastic job and only further added to the subplot of the importance that was the relationship between Desmond and his father. That is the underlying plot here. There's this idea that the Doss family, and it's like war kind of runs in the family. I like to think Desmond doing things differently had a lot to do with saving his relationship with his father in some symbolic sense. Or simply saving his father in general by proving there's an alternative to the violence that consumes him. You know, because the Great War destroyed Desmond's father, and it turned him into the broken person he is, which is why he wasn't the best father and the best husband. So Desmond, seeing that, tried to be the opposite. I enjoy watching Teresa Palmer. I watched Take Me Home Tonight again this week. It's a funny fucking movie, and that's a great little love story too. I like that movie. I don't care what anyone. I like that movie. It's funny and it's good. I like Teresa Palmer. In this, she's very good too. She didn't steal the show or anything, but she was very good. I want a little nod to Vince Vaughn, who proves to me time and time again that he can do dramatic roles and still be funny. And then he can do full on dramatic roles and not be funny. Go watch fucking Brawl in Cell Block 99. That is a brutal fucking movie. Just go watch it. Maybe I'll talk about that soon in one of these episodes. Whoever the director is, I forget his name right now, but whoever the filmmaker is who did Brawl in Cell Block 99 and Bone Tomahawk, he has a very interesting, creative take on things. A very brutal, disturbed fucking perspective on things, and he makes really raw movies, man. I wonder what he's got planned next. I'm really interested to see where his filmography goes. I like his stuff, you know. Yeah. So yeah. What else we got here? I think so my overall take on this movie. It's a very unique film, obviously, with a very unique theme. The main theme gives writers a lot to work with. I love that idea. When you can play with opposites and trying to balance opposites, so violence and passivity are completely opposite from each other, but trying to balance it. I've written stories similar in that regard, you know. I wrote a whole John Brown biopic. And here's a man who's like a very diehard Christian. He was an abolitionist during the 1800s, more preferably 1830s to 1850s is when he was really active. He was a very, very hardcore Christian, and yet he was the only person at the time. You know, he inspired others, but he believed the only approach to take to slavery was a violent approach. It was the only way to truly end it. That's again balancing the idea of passivity and violence, because here's a Christian man who doesn't believe in violence, and he has to go and take a violent approach to trying to end slavery. That was a story. It's still probably my favorite thing that I've ever written, easily, and I'll continue to work on it until it's 3 drafts done, but I'll keep going on it until it's ready to be. It's something that should be made. It sucks too. It's to be someone, and when you're a writer and you pull an idea from something that's historical, there's always a chance, or adapting like a book or something, there's always a chance someone else is going to do it first. Fucking Ethan Hawke's going to be the guy who fucks me over on this John Brown shit. He's doing a TV show about it. Whatever. There's no reason why there can't be multiple takes on things. Let's see here. Like I said, you got a theme like this, it gives the writers a lot to work with. The most important thing is being able to execute it properly. It is also a true story, so you want to be faithful to the truth. I think there are a lot of great moments that heighten the themes. It's a very thought-provoking film, and it has aged well even now, watching it years later. I like that climactic decision, too. There's one in this film, and it touches directly on the main theme. It's that one brief moment when Desmond saves the life of one of the Japanese men in the tunnels, and then we also later hear we hear that he was sending down wounded Japanese soldiers along with his own men. It just sums up what kind of person he is and his perspective on war, because in truth, war is the epitome of violence, and everyone involved is equally a victim of it in some way. Desmond is the opposite of what war represents, and so he brings that into this battle to balance the scales, if you will. We also get the circle of being moment in one of the climactic set pieces that I mentioned. It's when he's telling Smitty about the moment his beliefs and his code formed fully, and it was when he pointed a gun at his father protecting his mother, right? We see that flashback. We learn, okay, that makes sense. It had to have something to do with his father, the circle of being moment that formed his beliefs. It's the actual moment where the Desmond we know is born, right? And I love the line, too, that he says to Smitty, right? Smitty says, "You didn't kill him, though." And Desmond says, "In my heart, I did." Powerful shit, man. This connects back to my point about a lot of it having to do with the relationship, with his relationship with his father. The thematic resonance of that battle is expressing a clear duality of violence and passivity, showing the brutal nature of the battle itself first, and then the passivity of Desmond as he saves an insane amount of lives. There's a subtle line from his mother in the beginning, and when him and his brother are fighting, she says, "What are they fighting about?" Right? Which, that line, that could be applied to Desmond's entire philosophy about war and, right, what are we fighting about? Right? What are we all really fighting about? I don't know. That's just it, man. That's my take on it. I don't, it's a great movie. So, in terms of rating it, this film, I'll just say that this film invokes every kind of emotion, and when films do that, those are the best kind of movies. I give it a solid 8.6 out of 10. It's a great movie, and that is episode 22 of Screen Preach. I only saw Venom once or twice. It's another superhero movie we get to talk about. I figured only saw it once or twice. I don't remember exactly how many times. It's perfect. Let's watch it again. And so I did, and that's what we will talk about next week. I'm gonna not put out a couple episodes for a few weeks, and then I'll be back, and then we'll do our special. But yeah, that's where we're at. Let's do our movie quote of the week. This week's genre is war drama, and again, I'll narrow it down, very specific. World War II war drama. You can tell her that when you found me, I was with the only brothers I have left. Name that movie. It's a very popular World War II movie. I'm your host, Ben Morganti. Ben Morganti. It's not Ganti, okay? It's Ganti. Ben Morganti, alright? I'm your host, Ben Morganti. And you can find me over there down at the other place doing what I do. And then if you ever need anything, I'll take care of it. If you need more than one thing, I got guys that take care of 2 things at once and maybe 5. And what is that? All right. Ha! Follow the show at Screen Preach. Follow me at the Ben Morganti. Follow everything that has to do with me as a creator. Please patron at Patreon. I gotta figure out some kind of things, like reward shit I can do for you guys. I don't know. Every patron you get, give you, you'll get the episode early. And maybe a free shirt. I don't know. I'll figure it out. We'll get there. Subscribe to BMS Studios on YouTube. Check out my website too, benmorgantistory.com. My latest project. It's called The Dark After. It's an intense little movie. Go check it out, and it'll be officially on the website. I'd say Wednesday this week, maybe. 7 films, 7 projects I have done now. Go check it out. I can't wait to start my 8th project. It's one I've been wanting to do for years. I just wasn't ready. I didn't feel ready to do it. I'm ready to do it. I'm gonna dive deep. I'm gonna dive in and do it. I'm gonna do it, man. It's a mafia project that I've wanted to do. It's a true story. Yeah. I've never written I'm a big fan of those gangster films, but I have never done a gangster movie before. I've done a gangster TV series pilot, but not a movie. That'll be next. Have a cinematic week.